Hey, what's up guys? It's Noah here with CustomRCMods. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back out to the park, where today I have the Strix Stratosurfer. This is one of my all-time favorite RC airplanes, as you know, and I'm back here on Christmas break. It's time to go ahead and get to some flying with this plane. Now, I'm not going to talk too much about the airplane or about today's flight. All I'm just going to let you know is that conditions are good, the park is clear, and we got 5-mile-per-hour winds going this way, so coming from my back. And other than that, the plane should handle that just fine. I'm super excited. I haven't flown this thing in a minute, so we're about to have a really good time with this airplane. Let's go ahead, get on up in the air. All right, so here we go again. Wind is coming from my back, so I'm gonna go ahead and launch it kind of into the sun here. Up and away pretty easily. Just gonna loop around here, get to the flight. I am feeling the wind more than I thought I would, but it is kind of picking up, gusting probably up to 10 miles per hour now. But again, the Stratosurfer is a very heavy aircraft for its size and its wingspan, so there's really not too much to worry about. The only thing I'm really noticing is just a little bit of jostling when heading downwind, but again, it's penetrating the wind just fine. Maybe a little wing waggle here and there when hit with some turbulence, but other than that, this thing is really rock solid in windy conditions. Now again, if you haven't watched my prior Stratosurfer videos, this is a bind and fly spec Stratosurfer, so it's got all the stock electronics like Cobra, 2212, I believe it is like a 2200 kV motor on there, and a like 40 amp Strix ESC, and then I have a Spectrum AR620 antennaless receiver on board there as well, and the entire thing is powered by a 5,000 milliamp hour 3-cell Turnigy battery, which is amazing. If you're flying conservatively, which I most definitely am not at the moment, then you can get upwards of 40 minutes of flight time with this airplane. It is a really efficient setup. Small prop, doesn't put a lot of load on the motor, although the motor is spinning faster than most larger propped airplanes, so I guess there is some pros and cons to that. But it also glides really well, just again because it's so heavy. Once you get that momentum, it still does penetrate through the wind very easily, and the glide slope is absolutely stellar on this aircraft. I kind of just guessed on my battery placement. Obviously it's flying, but it does feel a touch tail heavy. So maybe on my next battery I fly with it, I'll go ahead and make a mental note to switch the battery and put it a little bit farther forward. But you don't want to go too far forward, because then you lose all your elevator control. And that is definitely something, especially on a heavy airplane, that is very important, and just in general. But my favorite thing about this is just doing these really tight bank turns. It just tracks so well, and it's so smooth. It's kind of hard to explain as you're flying it, but it is just something that I've never experienced in the other 50 plus different airplanes that I've flown. Again, this does have that plastic fuselage, which again is what contributes the most to the weight, but that also makes it durable for landings, gives you a lot more space inside, and of course it's in that cool orange color that's very easy to see and keep orientation while you're flying. So I think it's definitely a win, even though it's a little bit unorthodox when the name of the game in RC model aviation is weight savings usually. So that's always something to consider, but I think Strix really hit the nail on the head with this design, and it's been so popular. This thing has been out of stock for almost a year, if not an entire year or more. I talked to Tim Stanfield, who is the owner of Ready Made RC, and he said there may be some distribution challenges with getting the Stratosurfer produced, especially with the stresses that COVID has put on our hobby and just industry in general. So that may be contributing to some of the delays, but it's been really hard to get your hands on any Strix aircraft, let alone the Stratosurfer. I did get this one used, if you guys do recall, off a guy on the flight test forums, and he was super helpful with giving me a good deal and getting it promptly shipped out. So thank you to him if he still watches my videos. You really provided me with a good deal, and of course this thing arrived in one piece, which shipping a plane this big is no easy feat either. So mad thanks to him, mad props to him. He really made this entire RC airplane buying procedure, shipping a plane across the entire country, very hassle-free, which I appreciate. Yeah, I could just do these figure eights for hours, but I'm not going to because that would get kind of boring. Let's see what we can do to spice things up here. Well, I did go ahead and buy a replacement wing for this. It was like one of the last that Ready Made RC had in stock. And if you guys are unaware, Ready Made RC is a local company to me. Like I said, I do know the owner. And so I was able just to go ahead and pick it up. No shipping hassle or anything like that required. Same day, nice and convenient here, located just north of Columbus, Ohio. And so I picked up the new wings. I also picked up the flap kit for this, which is just some linkages and some servo extensions. So I do have functional flaps with the new wing. And I call it a new wing, however, I have put like 3 flights on this brand new wing, and I've already crashed it a few times. Not really crashed, but I was doing some high-speed touch and goes, and I dug the wingtip in the ground a little bit, which obviously isn't very good for styrofoam when it's going into the ground at Mach 1,000,000 or whatever. But no biggie. What good is an airplane if you can't have fun with it? And although you like to have planes that look good and you like to have planes that aren't messed up, usually they fly just about the same and they're still a bunch of fun. Maybe even fly better because you're not so worried about crashing it. Just listen to that whistle as it coasts on by. That's like one of my favorite things about this plane. I'll do it again. Kind of got on the throttle a little early there. I go up. Not too much rudder authority on this thing. Mainly a banking yank machine. Again, got on the throttle a little early. I didn't want to drop my wing as I was going into that turn. So no worries on that. Let's try it again. Get some speed. That's what I'm talking about. I really like that wind whistle sound that it makes when it goes right by. My buddy Joey on his Strix Goblin, which is a very similar aircraft to this one in terms of build, but of course it's a totally different style. It's one of those tailless airplanes. He has a throttle cut, and that thing whirs like a whistle dart almost. It's crazy, especially when you're going 70, 80 miles per hour. But yeah, something really unique when you have that ESC braking on. So it stops the propeller, so you get that really cool effect. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and mess with the flaps that I told you about a few minutes ago. We'll see what it's like. I haven't really used them at all yet. But of course, windy days aren't the best days to try out flaps, but here we are. So there's one notch of flaps, and you can see that just parks it right there. And we'll see if it drops a wing. Looks like it's kind of just floating down. And it's getting a little unstable. That's okay though. Had to gas it there real quick so I didn't unintentionally land. Let's go up a little higher and try it with 2 notches of flaps. Just got taken with the wind as so we're into the wind, both notches of flaps. You can see the nose just shoots up. That's a little stall right there, but not too bad. I'm going to give it a little bit of downward elevator pressure. Of course, usually when you're dialing in flaps, you want to dial in a little bit of down elevator anyways, but I haven't gotten that far yet because I haven't really tried messing with these flaps all too much, so it's not been a concern of mine, especially because you don't really even need them, especially with the plastic fuselage. You can usually land pretty fast and you don't have to worry about damage to the fuselage, of course. But it's just something fun to have. I don't really know how much use it's going to get because landing fast is always fun. It requires a bit more skill, but you know, it can be done. Let's see if we can do a little touch and go. Beautiful. It's a little muddy, so we're going to have to see if we'll have a cleanup job to do after this. I want to play with the downwind touch and go, but they're always, of course, a little more risky. Make sure there's nobody on the field behind me. I get multiple people that tend to approach. Okay, that was just a glide downwind. That's going to be sketchy for sure. That might be where the flaps would be more useful. However, of course, you don't need the flaps because you can just go upwind. You'll be fine. But let's do a downwind full speed pass, see what we can get. I'm going to climb over the sun. Sorry if it's blocking your view. I think it's pretty fast for a plane with a 1.5 meter, 55, 60 inch wingspan. That's definitely really impressive. Right by my head there. This thing is a ton of fun. Got my timer beeping at me. I never really set a timer for a plane with this big of a battery. It's not really a concern for me. You'll kind of know when it's time to land, but usually I land with plenty of time after I kind of get bored. Okay, coming around. See if we can get a little touch and go. Yep. Again, the nice thing about it for touch and goes is that, of course, it has more weight. It's going to have more momentum. It's going to take more friction when it touches the ground to slow it down. And, of course, that smooth plastic just has less friction in general when it touches this soft grass. So you can just bump it and go. You can even land. I've landed it on a smooth prepared RC flying field surface and just kind of taxied or just kept on the throttle and then taken off to end of the runway, so kind of full on touch and go. Almost crabbing in the wind there. I didn't want to set that down because I feel like I'd lose one of my wings into the ground and the entire thing would just unravel. But no worries. Sometimes that just happens. It's cool. You can almost see a little bit of ground effect happening just because, again, it has all that momentum and the glide slope with the big wide wings that it kind of just keeps going. And really unique formula, and I again think that Strix did an amazing job developing this airplane. In fact, next time I talk to the kind folks over at ReadyMade RC, I'm definitely going to ask them about what their development process was like, because that really does intrigue me. I'm wondering how a tiny brand like Strix, releasing just a few airplanes, and they've only been around for just a few years, went into development for something like this and got such a refined, high-performance product. Because I think that Horizon Hobby and a few other big-name manufacturers could take some notes from them. They've been doing some stuff that's really driving this hobby forward, like introducing new materials and new concepts into the game to kind of enhance the hobbyist's overall experience, not only from the scale looks department, but just from the aeronautics and aerodynamics sector, as well as durability. Durability is a big factor, and that's something that's super, super impressive on this airplane with these plastic fuselages, is that durability is second to none. Of course, this thing is fully expandable. I do have a DJI Air Unit FPV pod on this thing as well, so that's another thing that I'll be trying out in a future video. I already do have a video on my channel, just raw DVR with the Air Unit, and so if you want to check that out, it's there. But I'm definitely going to do a narrated one because this is one of the best FPV planes that I've ever flown. It is so rock solid in the air with that extra weight and momentum. Even if you have a little wind, you're not going to have a bumpy ride like most other FPV experiences I've had. So I'm really, really happy with this overall, and I can't wait to fly HD FPV with this airplane again. So I've been flying for about 10 minutes, 10-15 minutes. I'm not totally sure. I haven't really been keeping track. Having a great time, but I'm going to go ahead and set up a few approaches, get this thing down for a landing, and I think we're going to end the flight there. So again, we're coming into the wind, which is towards myself, and shouldn't be too crazy. Might do a touch and go here, might just bring it in for the landing. We'll go ahead and see what's happening. See how confident we're feeling on the approach. We do have these little flags that mark the soccer goal, so we gotta watch out for those. I'm gonna go ahead and go around. I'm trying to put it in the area right at my feet because I know that there's none of those pink flags in there. Last time I flew this thing, the flags unfortunately got in the way and nicked up the leading edge of my wings, so I don't want to do that on this time. This one looks like a good approach, and nice and easy, just like that. Beautiful landing. Amazing plane. I love this plane more and more every single time I fly it. So if you ever find one of these you can pick up for cheap, pick up used, or maybe one day they'll have them back in stock here soon. I sure hope so, because I myself might even be buying another one. These things are so much fun, and I again definitely recommend you pick one up. That's it for the video, guys. Thanks so much for your support as always. If you have any video requests, other ideas, comments, or questions about anything RC in general, make sure to go ahead and let me know. I'd be happy to make a video or answer your question as necessary. Take it easy, guys. Have a good one, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.